Hi everyone! So this is some very special extra content for everybody that backed us from the collector's tier and higher. We're going to go through issue 1 as a team and commentate on what we see. So you've seen my mug enough, you know who I am, but we also have our team of writers here, so Dennis and Beanie, and our artist Matt. I'm going to go through the comic book for the first time and see it all together as it is. So, page 1. Guys, which arguably is my favourite page. The first page and the last page from the sketches were my favourites to begin with, and now seeing them coloured, I really love the way, Matt, that you've captured the hand coming through the portal with the locket. I think the colouring on that first page is absolutely stunning.
That's probably my favourite bit, actually.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing that one from the beginning as well when I first joined the company.
Yeah, I was drawing it.
And then
I was drawing it on
you were really mad about the locket
the
falling.
Yeah.
You didn't like how it fell, but now it really is stunning.
I remember there was a lot of debate about where the locket was going to end up.
Yes.
Before we finally decided it was going to.
Yeah, because we realised if it just lay on the floor,
Yeah,
just absolutely
so
nowhere in London, it would be there the morning after, basically.
Exactly.
And this page was actually part of a different sequence that appears later in the book, and we decided to move it forward to give an air of mystery straight up, like what's going on here, sort of thing.
So almost like a circular narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
It's page 2. It's page 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, page 2 was page 1. Absolutely love that first panel.
Yeah, I think that's one of our most popular prints as well. So
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot of people will recognise from Comic Con, from the prints that we've been giving away in the run up. And it's one that always catches everyone's eye. The more you look at it, the more you can spot the kind of landmarks around London. So it's a really personal print anyway, and seeing it as part of the panels is brilliant to see it all coming together. It's very sweet.
I have a different view of that first panel because the amount of times I drew it.
Yeah.
So.
A love-hate relationship.
Yeah, and it comes a point where actually you're not so enamoured with it because you looked at it so many times. I think probably in years to come we'll look back at it and really like it, but for now I prefer the second panel.
So the layout on page 3 is quite different to the layouts that we've got previously, where we've got the sort of face behind the actual panels telling the story, which is quite impressive and I guess quite different to anything that we've done on the previous pages.
It's something I try and do that a lot actually. I try and pick one panel and make that a big picture and all the other panels sit in it. I don't know how, I've actually forgotten how many times I might have done that in this one, so we'll have a look.
So it comes up again. I really like that. It really adds to the sort of mystery and the suspense that you've built so far as well. Like, what are those eyes? Whose are those eyes?
Have they been drinking? That kind of thing.
It's really effective in like concluding the kind of surrealist dream sequence as well. Like we know now that that's the end of that, and now we're back to
bring
reality.
in the real world, yeah.
And then the introduction of the police force. I guess this is probably the first page where we really see the technology being used in the world with the different drones and things we've got flying around there.
And we've still got Shaw in like the traditional detective's trench coat.
Oh yeah, I guess this is the first page we see Shaw as well, the thirst trap of the comic.
So, yeah, I guess Shaw, you know, I wanted to have like two protagonists coming in it from two very different angles, and in writing it's obviously very convenient to have someone that's going to have access to the action and be, you know, your point, to have a reason to be there and have a reason to sort of investigate these sort of things. And I think, like, I was quite conscious of making sure that he wasn't like cliche, because there's so many coppers out there, right?
Yeah.
And then Beanie was obviously sort of like, we were talking about like, how can we write him, how can we have him, how can we depict him and not be just another copper.
Yeah.
I really like his inner narrative. Like that's where I think that he stands out a little bit.
Yes.
And I love the like ultra sweary aspect of his character as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see further in the book kind of what his situation is, and you know, in our police force, which is obviously quite corrupt and abusive, why a good man would still stay in that job, and how, you know, how people like that sort of like cope with being in sort of like organisations that might not be, you know, the best. So yeah.
He kind of embodies London for me, I guess, and the people that I've met along the way. It's quite a tough, hardened exterior, and you know, I am the
Pumpkin
loser
swearing,
that
is that
tries
what
to
you're saying?
smile at people in the street. But actually, like, if you can interact with them and grab 5 minutes of their incredibly busy schedule, you're all right. Not a bad guy.
I think Shaw's definitely, you know, even though he's grumpy and swearing and stuff like that, he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, he's clearly a good
That's
man.
what I mean.
Yeah, that's right.
I could be
yeah.
sure.
You were the inspiration.
Apart from the heart of gold bit.
Oh, that's just outrageous.
Yeah, and then here we, you know, the page 5 is the introduction to the main mystery of the story, I guess.
Yeah, it's quite a graphic page, that one, isn't it? I think one of the main things that enticed me with Daughters of Albion was that it was sort of an amalgamation of all these different themes. So you've got the fantasy side, the futuristic side, you know, two worlds that are quite polar opposites clashing. But then you've got the sort of crime thriller aspect of it as well, to give it sort of a more adult theme. I know this is one of the comic pages that we showed at Comic-Con for people to see some of the pages ahead of time. And a few of us were like, oh my god, the children, what about the children? But the parents weren't bothered at all, as long as there was no boobs or anything in it. They weren't swayed by the gore, you know, kids were quite impressed with it, the adults.
It's kind of a bit sad that in this day and age,
Yeah.
actually, kids are
So used to
completely desensitised to. And we debated how hard to go with gore
Yeah.
and how much to show and stuff like that. And, you know, I think initially there was disembowelments and all sorts of like horrible stuff. And then
now
we
it's an
thought-
issue too.
and we thought, you know, we'll pare it back. We don't have to go that hard to make it.
It's a very powerful page. Very powerful page. 6.
Page 6, yeah.
So this page is the first time I've seen this page.
Me
coloured.
too. It's the first time I've seen it coloured too. And it's just the again, there's so many, even though we're only 6 pages in, we've seen so many different aspects of the world already. And the colours on this page really stand out and, you know, aren't something that we've seen on the previous pages. It's been the dream world, and then it's been quite grey shore side of the world. And then this is like Hashani. I guess for me it kind of represents her character a little bit more. It's like her in the normal day is bright and colourful and spunky. Are we allowed to say that word anymore? Never
so.
sure. I think we're allowed to say that word. But that's the only word I can think of to describe it. But
Yeah, I think when we were writing it, we were really, there was one concept that we kept on coming back to, is that dystopia doesn't just happen at night, and like just because it's kind of, you know, something is rotten, that doesn't mean that it's constantly nighttime and it's you know, dark and dim and grim. You know, dystopia happens every day. You know, as we kind of, you know, last 2, 3, 5 years be an example of that. So yeah, I think we were really conscious that we didn't want the book, you know, like set the entire thing at night and only show this gloomy London.
yeah. And we've got a few of B's different expressions as well.
I love these expressions.
Everybody loves B.
Everybody loves me. Coming soon.
So page 7.
Page 7.
Page 7, we see the flip of the.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's like the modern day graffiti, isn't it? The infiltrating the holograms.
Now I made a conscious choice here of not showing the reverse of that. I was waiting for someone to pick me up on it, but nobody ever did.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought that it would. The way I imagined it in my mind, that it's like one of those things that's always facing you, no matter what direction you're looking in. So that's why it isn't the reverse.
So I guess page 8 kind of introduces us a little bit more to Rashad and Hashani's relationship. So they are cousins, are they?
No, they're best friends. Basically, they've grown up with each other for like.
Right, okay.
Forever. But you know, in London, people use cuz as a sort of like people that they're close to and family, like people they consider friends, sort of like family.
Got ya. Southern slang.
London slang very much so, yeah. B. Rashad and Hashani, they're kind of like the Three Musketeers. They pretty much do everything together. Yeah, I like sort of like, I love B's dialogue.
The sass of B.
She's so sassy, and you know she it's almost like she knows that she's superior to them, but she's still kind of technically beholden to them.
Like a cat.
So how did B sort of come about? How did that character and personality sort of come about?
So we had this idea that Hashani would have sort of like, Hashani's supposed to be like a bit of a tech head and a programmer, and she's into her like scavenges for junk and then puts together stuff and sells stuff. And then, so we had this idea that she would have taken a police drone and reprogrammed it to be her like her pet. And then Beanie came up with the name Bee, I think.
Yeah.
And then
initially we were like, oh, she could have a bee shell, and then we were like, oh no, Transformers. So
Yeah.
I was like, what about bee, short for beetle? And we were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I found this like really incredibly coloured iridescent beetle on Beanie. I can't remember the name of it, but we were like, yeah, that was really
That's it.
nice. And we were toying around with basically making her look more or less like a beetle.
Yeah.
But then I think, and then Matt's designs were basically, we looked at them, it's like, yeah, that's iconic, that's really cute.
Yeah. It is
We
nice that
love the
she's a
face.
beetle, not
Yeah.
a bee.
Yeah. And then Matt sketched it out, and then we sent some of the sketches to Kays, and he did a final model.
Yeah.
And
Got
when
it
came
right
back,
first time.
Yeah, when it came back, it was just incredible. It was like, yes, that's
It's
big.
exactly what I was trying to do, but just couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, page 10, I guess you get to see the streets of London really, and Hashani sort of interacting with the world as it is now. You've got some aspects that are like, the bus stops are still there, so there's obviously some parts of London that still run as we know it now, but then you've got the overlay of the holograms and the drones patrolling the streets and things.
The little street sweeper. I particularly like.
Little streets,
I was
so
going to
yeah.
ask, was that?
That is a street sweeper.
It
isn't
is, yeah.
That's really
That's,
cool.
that's why there's no rubbish behind him.
Very
There's rubbish in
nice.
front of him.
And I think, Beanie, you can elaborate on this, but it's in comic books when you're writing, it's really, really hard to try and keep it so tight, but give the reader as much as possible. And I think this was like trying to show her London,
Yeah.
but then sort of like showing her a little bit of her attitude and her kind of like rebelliousness and her want for adventure and stuff like that.
And giving Beak some more sarcastic.
Giving her some more
Screen time for
complexity.
B. We're all in for screen time for
Yeah.
B.
I particularly love the little shoe on top of the bus stop.
You specifically asked for that, though.
Yes.
Page 11. It is 11, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
I got Kays to build an interesting sort of factory setting that I can swap out with bits and pieces, spin it round. It doesn't necessarily, I could probably use it again for something else. And again, he did exactly what I wanted him to do. Almost like he read my mind. I like the interaction between them here.
Yeah.
Panel 3, by the way, was partly inspired by Jurassic Park, wasn't it, Beanie?
Yes.
Was
I remember
it?
You sent me the Velociraptor scene in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they're hunting them down.
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
Did anyone hear a voice there? That was so weird. It's like it came from the heavens. That's really cool. That's a really cool fact.
I've got an even cooler fact than that.
Oh?
Well, I think it is, because it was my idea.
Okay. No bias whatsoever.
No bias. In panel
If
2,
it's better than a dinosaur.
one of the bits of junk that Hashani is holding in panel 2 is the ultimate nullifier from the Fantastic Four that Reed Richards used to scare off Galactus.
I remember you talking about that.
I
I
think,
had
yeah.
no idea what you
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we say that on video? Are we going to get
I
sued
don't
now?
think anyone will mind. That's like a
But for
homage,
people
isn't
that
it?
know, the people that would recognise it, that's really, really cool.
In fact, if you want to skip back a page, the lady walking right next to the bus is a vampire slayer from the 1970s that Spike killed and took her jacket.
It
Oh,
could
really?
be. Page 11 kind of starts the first fight scene, I guess,
Yeah.
which then takes us on to page 12, where we see the action happening. Beat's face steals the show yet again, even though there's so much going on this page. The sort of anger that's portrayed from those two little eyes and the determination in that little beetle. It's
Yes.
amazing.
It's page 16.
Yeah, and we cut to
Cut back to the police.
the police station.
Yeah. And that model for the London Central Police
Yes.
Station was another brilliant piece of work by Case.
Basically, if you Google very famous brutalist architecture, something like that will turn up.
Like the Barkins, like that,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Shaw interacting with pictures on his desk, again sort of building who he is as a person and the things that matter to him and why, a little bit of sort of what. So I remember the first time I read these panels on page 19, that sort of last comment, but I don't think they were human. That was when I was like, oh, something's happening, something exciting's coming. Because it's just, so far in Shaw's world, we haven't really got an understanding of what's there. It's just a sword that's been found that's old, it could be anything. Whereas now we're like, wait a minute, if they're not human, what are they? What are we dealing with? Because they look so human on that first sort of crime scene that we see. So then it's like, okay, so what are we dealing with here? What are these worlds that are sort of clashing together? And then we get the first view of Hashani's workshop, the bee cave, which I love, by the way.
And then I like the way that this segues into the next scene where they basically they've seen them on CCTV.
Yeah.
And then they're like, who the hell are they?
Who are these people?
Who are these people? And then the reader jumps into
takes us back.
Into
jumps
the world.
and it's like, well, here they are. This is who they are.
Yeah. So page 24 is then these characters
Yeah.
from Hashani's dream.
Yeah.
And we finally get to meet them
And see what they were doing and finish off the mystery, but also adds more mystery of what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And
I'm massive mad ass for a love story.
Yeah,
I hate to admit it.
I think. Yeah, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
that's it.
I think like with these two, it was really hard because we wanted to try and show so much in such a short time.
Yeah.
Without
Dwelling on it.
feeling exposition-y and without sort of like, you know, expanding the page count and you know, but I hope, like, the hope is obviously you get the sense of that, you know, they're very much in love, they've got this daughter, they give up anything for her.
Yeah.
And they're from a people that are like abused and used, and they've had enough, and they're you know, they're going to do something about it. And the grand finale, like page 27, I love this page.
I enjoyed this page.
Yeah, and the idea behind Dave was, so the second thing that I got from the Museum of London was there was a huge auroch skull on display, and the auroch is a prehistoric cow basically that lived in and around the area, and I like the idea of Dave being sort of like formed from the detritus of wherever he is.
Yeah. I wouldn't have
resurrected.
known that. I never knew that.
The final page.
Yeah, we had issues, didn't we, about how we were going to show everything we wanted to show there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, in the end, that was the best way to
Page 28
have
is
him
Yeah.
down there at the bottom
hard-hitting.
as well.
Yeah, I think I when I first thought about it, like I envisioned it very differently, but I think it's turned out really, really well. And I think that having that final, because we're going to have a full splash with the lettering on that tiny figure, but I think the close up of,
I think that's better.
Yeah, I think it works really well. Cool.
So how do you feel about the comic overall? Now you've seen it beginning to end, your vision brought to life.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, chuffed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Beanie, go ahead.
Excited for people to read it.
Yeah.
See it, because it's cool.
Yeah, I'm over the moon with it. I can't wait for everyone to read it and you know, see if they like it basically. For something that's kind of been just in my imagination, to see Matt bring it to life and, you know, Beanie to help bring it to life and the characters and everything like that, it's just been incredible.
Yeah. It's been this first one's been a bit of a slog.
It has.
It's been a lot of learning curves
Yeah,
for
There's a lot of
everybody.
learning curves. But I think, you know,
Which
it's
is
been
fine.
really interesting. I think Beanie and I were both 100% admit and keep saying we're like,
I think everyone's learned something.
Yeah.
haven't they,
Oh, yeah.
as they've gone along.
Definitely.
writing comics is tough. It's
Yeah.
very different to what we've both done.
Totally different.
But yeah, it's been a great learning curve, and just so very proud of what we put out basically.
Yeah, I think the way the comic flows from page to page, it's so easy to follow. And I've read a lot of comics where there's been a lot of mystery, but I've thought, is that because I'm stupid that I don't understand what's happening? But I don't get the vibe with this. I get okay, they're building the mystery, they're building the suspense, and that's the natural flow of the comic, and it will all make sense. And I'm quite happy that some of the questions have been answered by issue 1, because it gives me enough to want to continue with issue 2, because there's still some that I don't know. You know, like my questions have been answered in terms of who are these people at the start, why have they ended up dead. You know, I've been given enough insight into that to make me want to get issue 2, while still knowing that there are some other bombs to drop.
Yeah, and what I also, what we all always want to do, I think, or aim to do at least, is kind of like answer questions, but then give them bigger,
By giving more
bigger
questions.
and more mystery and more sort of like,
Exactly.
so that by the end of each issue, you're like,
Yeah, I'm not
I wanna know
finishing
what's
the
going
comic with the same questions that I had at the beginning.
yeah, exactly.
Those have been answered, but I've
Got
opened
more.
up bigger possibilities. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you've done an incredible job, all of you, like the whole team. What you've created here is really beautiful. I don't think we'll have any problems with getting it into people's hand. I honestly think people are going to really enjoy the story. They're going to enjoy the characters. They're going to enjoy the artwork, and I'm really excited to start getting feedback from people on this. Well done.
That's it.
You should be very proud of yourselves.
Give myself a clap. Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who backed us. We really, really appreciate your support. Really excited for you guys to get the book. I know a lot of you have followed us for a really long time. So, you know, we're so pleased that we finally got you the book, and
Yeah,
hope
we're
that you
here.
enjoy it.
It exists. We're
It
not a
exists.
scam.
Yeah, it's nice for me. All my previous comics work, I've not really had much interaction with the people who were buying it, because this has just been done in a different way. I've been there at the conventions, and I've seen people, and we've talked about it, they've seen me working on it. That's made it quite enjoyable for me. And it's
Totally different experience.
yeah, totally different experience. You know, it's not just work for hire, so it's good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Anything you want to say, Papa? You didn't get to say thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this was my first time working on a comic book, and it's been a really interesting experience, and I've learned so much. And now I'm working on something else. So yeah, it's just been a great.
Another comic book.
Another comic book.
Stay here. She's ours.
It's not Tesco, anything like that.
Can put her off.
It was great doing it. Never again. Sayonara.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.